Hello and good day to everyone attending today's webcast, Limitless Libraries, Unlimited Potential, sponsored by TLC and Library Journal. My name is Rebecca Joswick, and I'll be your moderator. But before we go further, I just have a few housekeeping items to run through. If you're experiencing technical problems, please use the purple Q&A button on the audience console, and the webcast tech team will get to you as soon as possible. If you have any questions or comments for the presenters, send those in at any time via that same purple Q&A button. It can sometimes happen, but if your screen becomes locked due to local network congestion or bandwidth issues, or if you have audio streaming issues, you can try using F5 to refresh your webcast console, or if you're on a Mac, use Command R. Today's slide presentation is available for download in the green Resources folder on the bottom menu dock. A certificate for continuing education credit is also available in the Resources folder, and it's labeled Certificate. There are also some additional resources about the Limitless Libraries program, so feel free to download those as well. We are tweeting with the hashtag LJTLC if you'd like to join the conversation on Twitter. So Limitless Libraries is a cooperative program of Nashville Public Library and Metro Nashville Public Schools with the goal of improving school libraries, fostering resource sharing between the two institutions, and improving student access to learning materials. The program has achieved success in part because of its adoption of the Library Corporation's CarlX and Carl Connect technologies, which you'll hear more about today. And with that, let's meet our presenters. We have Allison Barney. She's the coordinator of Nashville's Limitless Libraries program, a partnership, as I said, between Nashville Public Library and the Metro Nashville Public Schools. She serves on AASL's Innovative Reading Grant Subcommittee and ALA's Joint Committee on School Public Library Cooperation. Allison has previously worked as a middle school librarian and a bookseller. And we have Stephanie Ham. She serves as the Director of Library Services for Metro Nashville Public Schools, where she oversees 125 school library programs and librarians across the city. Previously, she was a high school librarian, middle school teacher, and the coordinator of Limitless Libraries. She was named a 2014 Library Journal Mover and Shaker and is a proud Lilliard Fellow. And with that, I will turn the floor over to Allison and Stephanie.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. This is Stephanie Ham, and Allison and I will be going back and forth. But before we get into the meat of the presentation, we just wanted to give you some background about Nashville and our school system, public library system here. So if you haven't heard, Nashville is a very fast-growing metropolis. We have approximately 700,000 people that live in Nashville, and it is estimated that 85 people are moving to Nashville every day. We are a consolidated government county government system. So when we talk about Nashville, we are talking about all of Davidson County, and that includes both for the school system and for the public library system as well. So a little background on Metro Nashville Public Schools. As a district, we are the 43rd largest school district in the nation. We have approximately 150 schools, and we are very fortunate here in Nashville because we have been very, very supported in our staffing to support those schools. We have 126 school librarians, and we also have 3 full-time library staff members on the library services team at central office to support those schools. For students, we have approximately 88,000 students, with 73% of those economically disadvantaged, and have over 130 languages that are spoken in our school system.
Hi everyone, this is Allison Barney. I'm going to give you a little background on Nashville Public Library. We have branches throughout our consolidated city-county government. We have 21 of those, and they stay very busy with 350,000 cardholders and over 5 million checkouts per year. Nashville Public Library is very committed to youth services, providing children and teen programs with dedicated children's and teen staff at all of our branches. Also, we have a Studio NPL program, which is our makerspace program that goes out into all of the branches and into the schools. And we also have dedicated Limitless Library staff to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of Nashville's students.
So the reason why you're here today is to hear a little bit about Limitless Libraries. And this graphic just kind of gives you a big picture of what Limitless Libraries is. Essentially, it's a partnership between Metro Nashville Public Schools and Nashville Public Library. And together we have built a program that we are so proud of here in Nashville called Limitless Libraries. A little bit about the background of Limitless Libraries. It really started with our former mayor, Mayor Carl Dean. At the time, our schools were not meeting benchmarks for No Child Left Behind, so it looked like that the city government may be taking over the school system. So the mayor at the time was looking at ways he could start consolidating government agencies and supports to help better the school system. And he started thinking about how our public library could support our school libraries. The mayor was a huge reader and just a strong supporter of libraries. And we had such strong public libraries here in Nashville. And so he really wanted this partnership to take place, which we're just very, very fortunate for that. So Allison and I could talk a lot about the mayor, but he does a better job talking about that himself. So we're going to let him, in just about 2 minutes, talk about what Limitless Libraries meant to him and his 8 years as mayor.
Incredibly proud of what this program has achieved, and it is certainly due in large part to all of you, school librarians who have embraced and promoted this new resource. Your support and enthusiasm is clearly evident with the dramatic increase in circulation of school library resources across our district. The collaboration between Metro Schools and the Nashville Public Library has been phenomenal. Limitless Libraries has been truly groundbreaking and is modeled now across the country. Tricia Bengal is going to share some exciting information about the impact study on Limitless Libraries. I'm happy to share that this program has had a profound effect on the reading habits of our students. I am grateful for the team at Metro Schools and the Nashville Public Library for launching and developing this program over the past 3 years. Limitless Libraries is making an impact on our city. You all as educators and advocates for literacy and learning are the driving forces behind this impact. So thank you for what you have already done. I know when you hear the details that Tricia is going to share, you will be inspired and encouraged to continue your great work. I look forward to another school year that is sure to bring even more news of success for the Limitless Library programs. And let me just say that as this program has expanded throughout our schools and the amount of books and materials that are being circulated increases every year, it brings me a lot of gratification. I'm at the point, I've still got 14 months to go. But I'm at the point where people ask me, what are you most proud of? What do you think about the most that's occurred in the last 7 years? And there are a lot of things to reflect upon. There's the It City, there's the Red Hot City in Time magazine, there's the convention center. I know I'm going to like the baseball stadium. But I always come down to saying Limitless Libraries. Because if there's anything that's going to make a difference in our kids' lives, it's having access to books, it's having access to learning, and it's having access to a warm, safe place that is all about their dreams, that is all about the future, and is all about giving them the opportunity to live the American dream. So when I think about that, I know that everything that happens is a team effort. I didn't do this. You all did. The libraries did. And it's a tremendous thing for our community. So thank you so much for what you do each and every day, and thank you for your support of this program. Thanks.
So as you can see, we are very, very fortunate to have Mayor Dean. And although it looked like that the public library or the city government will be taking over the school system, Metro Nashville Public Schools did make the benchmark that year. So it didn't happen exactly the way that we thought Limitless Libraries would happen, but the mayor, once he got this into his mind, he wanted to ensure that this partnership took place and ensure that there was a steering committee that could see that through. So Allison's going to talk to you a little bit about the history and how Limitless Libraries works.
Yes, so Limitless Libraries did start in 2009, and the idea was really that we want to increase resource access for all of the students in Metro Nashville Public Schools. We started with a 4 high school pilot to kind of test things out and see how it worked. We really built up their library collections. They had a lot of outdated materials, and we were able to refresh the collections with up-to-date materials and materials that would interest students. The year after that, we moved to all high schools. The year after that, 2012, we moved to all middle schools, and now we currently are in all of Metro Nashville Public Schools, traditional schools. So we are in 125 schools. All of the schools that we serve do have school librarians. We want to be seen as a partner with school librarians. We can never replace what a school librarian does for a school. So Limitless Libraries really is about access through school libraries, public library resources, and digital resources. One of the things we're best known for is our school delivery of public library materials. All 3rd through 12th graders in MNPS do have a library card that's connected to their student ID number. And I'll talk a little bit more about how school delivery works in just a moment. In addition to that school delivery, we also provide funding for collection development for school libraries. So we use Nashville Public Libraries discounts to purchase materials and databases for the schools. We have $1 million annually that we spend to supplement and enhance those collections, and we have 2 dedicated collection development librarians who work with all of the school librarians to get the materials needed in each collection. Limitless Libraries is also about partnership. We want to work with MNPS to support their goals and initiatives. We also work to connect school libraries with their local branch librarians, and we work to promote Nashville Public Libraries programs in schools, things like Teen Read Week and our summer reading program. So Limitless Libraries is really all about creating or increasing access for all of Nashville students. Okay, so school delivery is a big part of what Limitless Libraries does. And this slide shows you how it works. That top circle has a student who's using our public library catalog to request materials. The students log in using their student ID number, and they place a hold online. When that happens, the next step is that a paging slip is generated at our branch libraries. The staff pulls those items, and they send them all to the Limitless Libraries department at the main library. We have 5 people right now who work full-time to manage that circulation. They check out the items and generate labels to place on those materials. We sort them into every school, and then we bag them up, and MNPS Delivery comes and picks those materials up from us every day. The bags get delivered to the school library. Students get the books from the school librarian. They're able to utilize them and return them through their school library. I do have a photo right there of the label. We get a lot of questions about exactly how the labels look on the items that we send to schools. And so we make sure that the school name, the student's name, the homeroom teacher, and the due date are all very clear on those stickers. We send a lot of public library materials to schools. This is a photograph of one day's delivery at a middle school. Last year we sent 131,000 items to students. This year so far we've sent 81,000, and I think that we will definitely surpass last year. We use so many materials, so many public library materials for Limitless Libraries that the public library has actually received over $1 million from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation to purchase more public library materials so that we have enough for everyone in schools to have what they need and patrons who come into our branch locations to still be able to find what they need.
And one thing I want to add on here is we always want to talk about, yes, we're very fortunate that we have a significant amount of funding in Nashville, but there is parts of this that don't cost anything at all, and that's really where that school delivery aspect comes into play. Obviously, Allison has to ensure that she has enough green bags and materials, but the delivery of materials is done by the MNPS courier system that was already in place. So as Limitless Libraries grew, the courier system just stops at the main library downtown and picks up those items instead of the public library having to fund additional drivers and trucks. The school picked up that. And although it did cost the school a little bit more because due to the demand of Limitless Libraries, they did have to buy 2 new trucks and get, I think, like 3 more drivers, but it obviously is very, very well worth it. So whenever Allison and I talk about Limitless Libraries, we always say the school delivery part is the cheap part, I guess you would call, of Limitless Libraries.
It really works because of the MNPS courier service.
So because we have so much support from Nashville Public Library, it's really allowed us at Metro Nashville Public Schools to really shift our mindset of what school librarians are and have spent a lot of time over the past 4 years really moving from operational to instructional. We know that some of those operational tasks are so important for school librarians to do, but the most important thing that we do is making sure that we're working and instructing students daily. So part of that is we've actually updated our job description at Metro Nashville Public Schools to ensure that the focus is on instruction and collaborating with teachers. So you can see here, this is our current job description. Obviously, it's in an infographic form. We have to have a very long formal one for human resources. But this is what we like to show our principals and our librarians of what the expectations are. And the first one is that school librarians in Metro Nashville Public Schools are teachers. So we expect them to be instructing students and working directly with students. Also, they're an instructional partner, so collaborating with teachers and co-teaching lessons with them to ensure that that instruction takes place. The third part is an information specialist, so that curation of resources and building a strong collection. And the last part is program administrator, which is still very, very important to being a librarian. But prior to Limitless Libraries, that program administrator took up 75% of the time versus now where it's only 25% of the time. And with the support of the public library, our school librarians are really able to use not only their money more effectively, but really build a strong collection because they have that support from the public library in terms of selecting great materials for their schools. No longer do librarians have to spend some of their funds on the agriculture books that are only used one time a year for a project. The great thing is now, when that project comes up once a year, they can request those items to be sent directly to them at the school, and they're able to keep them also for an extended amount of time to support the instruction that's happening at the school. And again, if we didn't have that support from the public library and from the Nashville government, we would not be able to really shift our expectations for librarians. So we get asked often, why does, how does this work? And really, I think Allison and I would both agree, because we've been a part of Limitless for so long, and actually both of us as school librarians before moving into these roles, that trust really is the key to all of us. We would be lying if we didn't say at first there was some apprehension of what Limitless Libraries would bring. Did this mean that school librarians were out of a job? But because of that partnership and trust with each other, it's not only made the advocacy stronger for strong libraries, regardless of public or school libraries here in Nashville, but it's really made our school librarians feel that they are essential in this partnership. And it truly is because of the school librarians' hard work that we've been able to continue from where we started in 2009.
There have been some unintended outcomes of Limitless Libraries, and one of them has been the opportunity to transform some school library spaces. We're now wrapping up our 8th school library renovation. Several years ago, I think 2011, a private donor donated $1 million to renovate 2 school libraries. And so one high school and one middle school were renovated. And when that happened, our mayor at the time, Mayor Dean, was able to see just how much impact that had on the school. When the libraries were updated, became great places to hang out, had updated technology and study rooms, comfortable seating. He saw what an impact that made, and so for the next 3 budget cycles, he also committed $1 million for school library renovations. So this is another example of one of the high school libraries that's been renovated, where we have shelving that is lower, better sight lines, updated circulation desk, and we also add classroom spaces in the libraries so that instruction can happen without stopping other kids from coming in and using the space. Okay, so this slide really shows our trajectory and where we're hoping to head. We currently have a shared catalog in place. We're working on an ILS, and we're hopeful for consolidated purchasing and looking for other ways to support students. But I want to focus on the shared catalog right now. This is actually a discovery layer that combines the results from both the school library catalog, which right now is through LS2, and results from the Nashville Public Library catalog. The discovery layer is called PICA, although that's not something that the students or teachers or librarians ever think of or use. But this was created by the Marmot Library Network's research and development team to make access easier and make it easier to find items. So the idea is that students can do one search, and they can find items both at school and at Nashville Public Library in that search. As you can see on this slide, the records are grouped so that and they're grouped by format, so you can easily see all of the different formats that a certain title is available in. And it also indicates whether it's available through the school or the public library, so that if it is available at school, students know they can go ahead and just get it off of the shelf and don't have to wait for it to be delivered by the public library. So this has really streamlined the searching for students and made it easier to find what they need.
So we've had a lot of success in Limitless Libraries, but we also knew that there was some major areas of improvement, and the shared discovery layer was really kind of the first one to help support. Another great thing about the shared catalog, this discovery layer, is students, when they log in, they're able to see items they have checked out from the school and items they have checked out from the public library as well. We are also right now, where we are is we are currently on 2 separate ILS systems. The public library has their own, and then Metro Nashville Public Schools, we have been using TLC's LS2 for several years. And so because of that, although students were able to see what they had checked out at both, school librarians weren't able to support students as much because they weren't able to see what was checked out. And so there was definitely some areas that we still needed support in, and really to improve that user experience for not only the teachers and students, but for the librarians as well. So in the spring of 2016, after much discussion, we, with Metro Nashville Public Schools and Nashville Public Library, put out a shared RFP for a joint ILS system. And, what we were looking for, again, was that user experience that made it easier for not only the user, but both the public library and the school library. I know Allison would probably tell you right now if a student needs a pen reset, it has to be sent through an email or a help ticket, and a school librarian is not able to go in and support students in doing that. So through that RFP process, one thing that we wanted to make sure is that we went to a completely web-based system, just because we would have, I think it's over 150 sites that would be using it between the public library and the school library. So through that competitive bid process, it was selected that Metro Nashville Public Schools and Metro Nashville Public Schools and Nashville Public Library would be transitioning to TLC's Carl X product, Carl Connect. And part of the reason for that selection was their experience with working with large urban districts and large school systems, but also it was web-based, and they're still in current development as they move forward with some of those things. What we have found, and I should say that we are in the process of transitioning right now. Both systems will go live on the product. I believe it is late May. I want to say May 28th, but if you could not contact us about it, maybe till June 15th to make sure that everything goes smooth on that. So we will be transitioning. The school system will be primarily relying on the web-based services, like I mentioned, with Carl Connect. And right now we're just working very, very closely with TLC and their development team to make sure it fits the needs of both schools and the public library. I would think that both of us would say that it has been a learning experience for both of us, just because some of the needs of the public library have been different from the schools, and some of the schools is different from the public library. So we're anxious to get everyone on one system and move from there, and really thinking about how it can support our outreach opportunities as well for the students and families of Nashville. One of the things Allison and I are both very passionate about is ensuring access for all students and all families. And one thing Limitless Libraries has allowed us to do is take the public library to the schools. So we're not expecting all of our students to come to the public library, but taking those services to them. And by us being on one ILS system, it will allow us to also support families, sign parents up for library cards, allow them to check out very easily from the school system as well. And so we're very, very excited of how an ILS will be able to support us as we move forward.
Limitless Libraries has been recognized as sort of a national model for school and public library partnerships. And so we've been contacted by cities across the country, also Auckland, New Zealand, and I keep hoping that they will ask me to visit. So the purple stars that you see are some of the cities who have contacted us, and the blue stars are cities that have implemented system-wide public library partnership.
So one thing I want to hit on a little bit more before we go into this community partnership slide is just a little bit more about the student cards, because we get a lot of questions about that. We have we're very fortunate that we are one metro government system, meaning the school system is a part of the metro government, which the public library is as well. So we have a MOU that is signed every year by our director of schools, the director of the public library, and the mayor's office that talks about the agreement that we have with each other. And one of those items in there talks about student data privacy and the use of student information. We talk a lot about what we have learned, and we've learned two things about student cards, I think we would agree. The first one is their very first year of Limitless Libraries, they did paper applications, and anyone out there listening, never, ever, ever do that, ever, ever. So I think that was a learning experience. And then the second one was up until 2 years ago, Limitless Libraries was an opt-in, so parents had to give permission for students to have access to the program. 2 years ago, we switched that to parents having to opt out, meaning unless parents said otherwise, their child would get a Nashville Public Library card. And the information that's provided to the Nashville Public Library is a student's name, a guarantor's information, their address, their school, birth date, and the very, very important thing is the student ID number. All of our students have student ID numbers that start with a 190 number, and that number follows them from pre-K all the way up through graduation. And so students also are required to have a student ID card, which can be used as their lunch card or their bus pass, or it can be used in various organizations across Davidson County. So now that student ID card also serves as their public library card. And we have it set up that we do a data transfer nightly, that information is updated. We have a high transient population in Metro Nashville Public Schools, so that's really important to make sure that we get that school updated nightly to ensure that any time a student requests items, they get sent to the correct school. So again, talking about funding and ways to save, using that student ID card has been such a time saver and money saver for both organizations. So not only can they use the public library or use their ID card in the public library, but they can also use it at their school libraries as well.
All right, so Limitless Libraries is a great example of a successful community partnership, and we get asked a lot about how we started, how we made it work, and really there are some big picture things. Big picture, these are 5 things really to think about. First, you need to identify the stakeholders who are going to be involved. So for us, it was Nashville Public Library, our mayor's office, and Metro Nashville Public Schools. For other partnerships, it might involve private donors, it might involve volunteer organizations, but just really identifying everyone who's going to be involved.
And Allison, can I add one thing into that? And I think one thing that we learned here in Nashville is, when they first started, they tried to get upper level administration of both the public library and the school system as well, and it was just really hard to get that momentum going. So once they actually got school librarians involved and branch managers involved, a little bit, I hate saying levels down, but maybe not that upper administration, they were really to get we could really get the momentum going, so those people that are on the ground doing the work every day, which helped us here in Nashville.
And those people who are on the ground doing the work every day, the librarians in the public library and the schools, were able to really help us identify the needs that we wanted to meet, because we didn't want to create a partnership that didn't meet the needs of the schools and the public library. So thinking about what you want to accomplish, and then the assets or tools that you have available to you to accomplish those things. Also, another thing to really consider is the funding that you have. Limitless Libraries is very fortunate to have funding through our city government. We are part of the Nashville Public Library budget, so we receive city funding every single year. We also receive some funding from Nashville Public Libraries Foundation that we can use to hold contests and do promotions throughout the year. But regardless of if there's city funding or not, identifying what kind of funding is going to be available is certainly key when you're thinking about a partnership. And Limitless Libraries, as I said earlier, started with just 4 high schools as a pilot. And I think that was really key, because a lot of the details were able to be worked out without having 80,000 students involved. Limiting it to 4 sites really helped us identify problems and make solutions that would meet everyone's needs. And one of the keys is absolutely to promote your partnership. So school librarians have been so key in spreading the word about Limitless Libraries and making sure students and teachers in their schools know about it. I also tried to go to as many school events as I can and make sure that everyone in the Nashville Public Library system understands how Limitless Libraries works. It's just really important to make sure that your community knows about the partnership and that they support it.
And I think through that promotion, Allison and I both feel very, very confident that the funding for Limitless Libraries will continue every time during budget season when they're going through the public library budget. You hear rave reviews from councilmen and women about what they've heard from parents regarding Limitless Libraries, and just really looking at us as a whole. One thing that we didn't touch on in this is, and maybe it's because for Allison and I it of course makes sense, but in 2013 we did an effectiveness study with Keith Curry-Lance about the use of Limitless Libraries, and his study found that those students that used Limitless Libraries performed at higher levels than those students that did not. So in terms of thinking about the research and student success, Limitless Libraries definitely has proven itself, not only through circulation and the feel-good stories, which are very, very important, but also through the data and student achievement as well. And then last thing about community partnerships is sometimes we get the question about, well, if you're getting all these books from the public library, how has that affected the circulation at the schools? Our circulation is also thriving as well. It's just proven that if you can get them through the door, whether it's to pick up their Limitless items or to check out something from the public library, you just have to get that right thing into their hands. And we couldn't be more proud of the work that's happening here in Nashville, and look forward to how we can better serve families through our shared ILS as well. So I think, Rebecca, we definitely have time for some questions. Here's Allison and I's contact information. You can feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're always more than willing to share copies of our MOU or any other information that we have, but hopefully we provided you with a little context and background information of where we started and where we're going, and if there's any questions, we'd love to take them now.
Thank you. That was a fantastic presentation, and I really enjoyed it. I think the audience definitely benefited from how you walked through not just the successes, but your learning points that you came across as you were moving through this process, because that's usually really helpful. We have a lot of great questions from the audience, so I'll start with this one. Has there been any issue with increase in challenges to materials because students have to access more materials outside of the school collection?
I'm sorry, Rebecca, can you state the first part of that again?
Mm-hmm. Have there been any issue or increase in challenges to materials because students have access to more materials outside the school collection?
I'm going to let Allison.
Go ahead.
Yep. I'm going to let Allison answer that one.
Yes. So we make it very clear in the student handbook and other communications that we have with parents that the public library does not in any way limit the materials that students are able to request. So in Tennessee, we cannot check out R-rated movies to minors, but otherwise anything is pretty much allowed. So we have had some teachers get concerned about it, and we always make sure that they understand that if parents are concerned, they can absolutely request that their students not use Limitless Libraries any longer, and we will honor that. Additionally, for our elementary students, we have limited it so they only have access to our juvenile collection, and that's because we realize that most of the time if a 8 or 9-year-old is checking out books, they're with a parent, and so when they're for the first time requesting items without a parent, we wanted it to be a slightly more protected environment.
And in terms of any formal challenges, if it is checked out from the public library, it doesn't follow our same MNPS policy in terms of challenges. So I wouldn't say there's been an increase, and the public library and the school system and our librarians are very much aware of the differences between that agreement with the public library versus the school system.
Okay, great. And I'm going to go ahead and push this slide up. There's a question asking, how would you recommend starting the conversation about a partnership between a school and public library system?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the conversation first, if you're coming from a public library side, is to find out who at the school system, if it's a large system, is over libraries. In Nashville, we're very fortunate. We have a library services department. That's not always the case. So I would find out who exactly is over school libraries, and the person to get that information from, honestly, is a local school librarian. They will know exactly who you need to contact. And then what I would do is just share with them maybe something small of, hey, let's get every student signed up for a public library card. And every school system has a student management system now, so doing that data transfer is a very simple process. But honestly, I would start with the local school librarian on who's the best contact at the central office for that to occur. If it's a school system and wanting to do the opposite side, I would definitely start with maybe a branch manager or the manager or the associate director over the branches to just kind of get that conversation started. We've had a lot of interest in it, and I think a lot of people want to do it. They just don't know where to start. So I wouldn't recommend going to the director of schools or the director of the public library first, but someone that's more in that middle management role that can help you navigate those layers of who you need to talk to.
And I'd just like to add that I am part of the School and Public Library Cooperation Joint Committee for ALA, and we are developing a toolkit to help systems who are trying to start partnerships between schools and public libraries, and that should be available in early 2017, and we'll have some templates for emails to contact both school library personnel and public library personnel, as well as examples and best practices of partnerships of all shapes and sizes, which might give you some ideas for how to get started in your community.
Great answers there. It really is important to know where to start and where not to go when you're beginning an adventure like this. Okay, let's see. I have another question here. One audience member is asking, what efficiencies do you expect to gain by using a common ILS?
So besides the outreach opportunity, which we kind of talked about with signing up parents and checking out, I think that there's two major parts. I'll talk first about the collection development, and then maybe you can talk about the inventory aspect of it. But we do eventually hope to go to a shared collection development model. Right now, although the public library supports our collection development, the school system uses their own purchasing power as well. And through some of the tools that TLC has available with Carl, we'll be able to run a better collection development and streamline those workflows, because right now we use a lot of outside products like SharePoint and just various things when we could use all one system. And it will also be allow collection development librarians to do a better check of what's in each of the schools' collections and things like that. So having, again, all of us on one system, it'll allow both the public library, especially the public library, to see what the schools are purchasing and what is in their system as well. But I know, and partially it's because Allison and I are super biased. We're really, really excited about the outreach opportunities the shared ILS is going to provide.
Yes. And as far as for school librarians, it's going to help. Students oftentimes are asking about their Limitless Libraries materials, various questions about when they're coming, when they're going to be due, and it will be a lot easier for school librarians to help students with those Limitless Libraries items that they're waiting on or wondering about.
And we haven't got the exact workflow worked out, but it will be able to see if something's in transit not only from a branch to the main library, but from a branch to a school system,
right,
and things like that. I'm not sure what the lost rate is, and again, Allison and I are on the same page with this. We really don't care. That sounds bad because just the amount of materials that are going into students' hands, but it'll be able to allow for better tracking purposes with that as well.
Yes.
Okay, good. And I'm just going to back step real quick to the question before. I believe, Allison, you mentioned about the ALA creating that toolkit. One audience member was asking if you could repeat again which section of the ALA is doing that.
It is a joint committee. It involves AASL, YALSA, and ALSC. So members of all three organizations are represented on the committee.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another attendee is asking, has availability of public library books in schools impacted student use of the actual public libraries themselves?
You know, I don't think so. I think it may have actually increased. I don't have any hard data to support that, but we're seeing more and more students learning about not just the physical materials that are in the libraries, but about some of the programs that happen in the libraries and the studio maker spaces and other video game and other programs that are going on. And so I think it's actually drawn some of the students to the branches after school for those programs.
Okay, interesting. We've got time for a few more questions here. Is your goal to allow complete access to materials through the ILS for students only, or will public library users also have access to the school collections?
Unfortunately, just the way that funding is set up, school materials will not be available to the general public. So a patron that doesn't have a student at a specific location will not be able to go in and check out any of those materials. And a lot of that has to go with safety and security and where school libraries are located. And also just the staffing structure at the school library. Some schools have clerks, some don't. So being able to pull those materials will not be available. And just the way that the funding's used for our school libraries, it will not be possible. However, if a parent has a child at that school and they are they want to check out picture books to take home to their preschool student, they will be able to eventually do that through the shared ILS.
Okay, good. Good answer. And I will note that one attendee also said, great presentation. Thank you very much. So it was nice to get
well, thank you.
Back. And let's see. Here's another kind of a technical one. And it's asking, I'm not sure if it's PICA or PICA, P-I-K-A. Is it an open source solution, and does it work for checkout as well, or just discovery?
I know it is not open source.
No. It is. Mark Noble is the person who's leading up the project for the Marmot group out of Colorado, but I know Nashville Public Library has been very involved in the development. But it is not an open source piece of software, and it really is the discovery layer. It's not something intended for actual checkout.
Okay, and there was a two-parter to that question, too. So if it is just for discovery, do you have to check the item out to the student at the public library through your ILS before it's delivered to the school?
Yes, we do. We check everything out before we send it because we are currently on separate ILSs. There wouldn't be a way to check out the materials once they got to the school.
So that is one of those inventory pieces with Carl that we're still establishing workflows and things like that. But again, it won't go on the student's card, until it is close to their hands. And right now, when they check an item out at the public library, there's a 3-day window for delivery. And so again, that being on one system is just going to make it easier for everybody.
Makes sense. And there are a couple of attendees asking why were the paper card applications kind of abandoned, and can you elaborate a little bit more on why you don't use them anymore?
Well, one is Allison and I think we want to have a life, so that would be part of the reason. When it was done, there was a lot of just the amount of manpower that was put into it was not. It was not an effective use of employees' time. And, not having that patron standing in front of you, is this an R, that sort of thing to ask those questions. And time-wise, doing the data transfer, getting more students' cards, all of that was just so much easier.
Between students and teachers, we currently have about 65,000 Limitless Libraries users. And so entering all of those by hand just is not an efficient use of time.
I can imagine. Good answer. One attendee is asking, too, how much of a problem do you have with students requesting items to be delivered from the public library when the item is actually on the shelf at school?
Well, the shared catalog really helps eliminate that because if the item is available in their school library, there isn't even an option to place a hold. They just say, it's here, and they know to go get it off of the shelf. Before the shared catalog, that did happen sometimes, and school librarians would see that and just encourage students to also make sure they were checking their school library as well.
Okay, good. And Here's one. I know librarians have been dealing with overdue books forever, and I'm sure that even with a really tight collaboration system, you still have an issue with overdue books. So how do you deal with that? Who does the fining, or who does the overdue notices? How does that work?
Can I talk about school? Yep. From the school side, we actually have gotten rid of all overdue fines. Students are only charged for lost items, and currently they just run paper reports for overdue notices at our schools. They can be sent something by email, but typically that's a parent's email address, and it's not a student email address. So we do it still pretty traditional on the school side, but we do not charge overdue fines. But I'll let Allison talk about the public library.
Yeah, with the public library, there's a couple of things. Our elementary student accounts do not accrue fines. Those accounts started just a couple years ago, and we were able to change the parameters for those. Our middle and high school accounts do unfortunately still accrue fines, and we deal with that a couple of ways. First of all, we add extra time to the checkout period to allow for the travel time from the public library to the school. And we also do backdating, so when the items are returned to us, when we check them in, we're giving them a 4-day grace period to allow for travel from the school. And then additionally, we offer 4 fine forgiveness opportunities per school year. So once every quarter, students do have the opportunity to do some sort of activity in order to get their fines waived. For us, it's really not about collecting the fines. It's about having access for students. So I'm much more in favor of eliminating those fines or removing them whenever possible so that the students can have access to the resources.
Okay, that's great, and it does play into the whole message of why Limitless Libraries was born in the first place, right? To make sure kids have as much access as possible. Exactly. And just to kind of follow up, I get the philosophy behind not having fines, yet you still have to deal with, loss or if something, just doesn't make it back. Are patrons required to have an unblocked account, or does there ever become a point, I suppose, where they cannot check out another book?
For the public library, if they owe more than $20, their account is blocked. So if there is a middle school or high school student with a lost item, their account is blocked. And so we make sure that whenever we have a fine forgiveness opportunity, we make school librarians aware of the students with blocked accounts so that they can encourage them to participate. And we get several, strange situation communications from school librarians all the time, and we always give the students the benefit of the doubt and go ahead and make sure their accounts are unblocked.
Well, and again, going back to that shared ILS, right now librarians, they have to contact Allison or her team to find out why a student is blocked. They can't see that. So when we are all on Carl, they'll be able to be like, oh, you lost that Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. Be sure to check your locker or things like that to support getting that back and support the student.
Okay, good. And I know you mentioned that I think initially or for a while you made it to where students would have to opt in, but you've shifted now to where parents now have to opt out. So how have parents been responding to the concept of Limitless Libraries? What kind of feedback have you gotten from the parents?
I would say the majority of it has been positive. We have had some parents request that their student no longer has access because, they could have lost, so many books. But most parents are just so appreciative of the partnership and almost that this is a good thing, not really thinking of it as a partnership, just a natural way that we do libraries here in Nashville, that we've had it for so many years that it's just an everyday thing here in Nashville.
Yeah, I feel like for students and parents, the lines are pretty blurred between the public library and the school libraries.
Okay, great. And I've got one more question here. One attendee's asking if you specifically, Stephanie, have multiple school districts. I guess, can you just explain a little bit more about how Metro Nashville Public Schools area works for those who might not be familiar with that area?
Yeah, no problem. We are actually one public library system and one public school system. So we are the entire Davidson County. So it doesn't matter if you live in Goodlettsville, which is in Davidson County, or you live in Nashville. You are part of one school system.
Okay, that's great, and I think we kind of need to wrap up here. That's been a wonderful presentation. A lot of attendees writing in to say how much they enjoyed it. So good job. Thank you so much to Stephanie and Allison for the great information.
Thank you.
And audience members, please remember to click on that green resources folder. You can find a copy of today's presentation, your certificate for continuing education credit, and several good resources that will maybe explain a little bit more or help you get the ball rolling if you want to endeavor upon your own Limitless Libraries program. So thanks again for everyone attending. Thanks to our presenters. Thanks to TLC and Library Journal for making this happen. The webcast will be archived, and we'll send you an email to let you know when it's available, usually in about 24 hours. You can find this webcast as well as all other archived and upcoming webcasts at libraryjournal.com. With that, folks, take care and have a great day.